I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, almost the direction. They were too fast to be in airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, everything broke again just before the show. So sorry for being a little late. But also, sound check, 1, 2. Can everybody hear me out there? Oh, boy. Yeah, everything. I fixed it all before I left to go on the trip and for the weekend. And I'm back. And now everything broke again just before we started. So had to patchwork everything together. Anyway, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the deal. It is St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, that's right. That's right. St. Paddy's Day is today, and there's an interesting aspect to it. Well, many interesting aspects to it. We're going to get into this. Sound is good on YouTube and Rumble and Discord. Thank you, James. Appreciate that very much. That takes a load off my my shoulders to start this. But of course, the most obvious thing that's happening in St. Paddy's Day in the modern West, of course, is the wear the green ritual, right? Wearing my green shirts to represent. I'm not even Irish. I mean, actually, technically, I am part Irish. My grandfather on my father's side had some English and Irish blood, and even red hair. They called him Red, matter of fact, which is fantastic. And I do have some red flecks in my beard. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of Irish. Anyway, whatever. I digress. Point is, you wear the green, right? Or you get pinched. At least that's the way it was in elementary school and growing up. And where the hell did that come from? It's kind of a little bit of a bizarre ritual, right? And like you, if you've listened to the last show or if you've been listening to me recently at all, you'll recognize that I'm recognizing all of these things that happen that we take for granted and don't really ask questions about. Okay. And in particular, this little ritual, which is exactly what this is so ubiquitous, people don't even ask the question anymore. It just becomes like the furniture. Oh, it's St. Paddy's Day. Wear the green, or, you get ridiculed, you get pinched, you get whatever, right? Why aren't you wearing green? Whatever. I mean, look, it's not really that serious, of course, but it's also one of those things where it is a cultural expectation, right? I mean, in certain places, surely. In other places, they're like, whatevs. But you get my meaning. This is certainly some level of ritual. And it got me thinking about a number of things. First, why the color green? Like, I mean, clearly, right, that the Emerald Isle, Ireland. I mean, the green hills. It seems to make sense, right? It seems to make sense. But then you do a little digging and you find out that the color of the Irish, for going back hundreds of years, wasn't green at all. It was actually blue. Yeah. And look, if you don't believe me, hey, as usual, I like to bring the receipts. Okay. That's the whole part of this, is to talk about these ideas outside of those, the mainstream parlance. Okay. Throw academia out, at least for the sake of the conversation, which is a great time for all of the things we talk about to get the disclaimer. Okay. There's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is kind of taking a basic concept of a historical fact and then kind of wondering how this fits into the mythological and folklore sphere. Okay. That's it. That's what this is. There's no truth. If you're like, Michael Strange said this and that means he believes it. Well, that's on you. That's not on me. All the disclaimers do apply. There's no truth here other than the links I'm sharing. Go vet those sources. Go read them yourself. Go check it out. Go make sure I'm not fibbing to you, at least in this regard in the setup. Now check this out. This is weird. So the original color of St. Patrick was indeed blue. Yeah, right? However, so shouldn't we be wearing blue or do you get pinched? But that's not the case at all, okay? And the write-up tonight is very good. And what's up, guys? I see you in the chat. I appreciate all the the enthusiasm and the great comments already. But okay, let me just read from the write-up because this is the best way to do this because, well, I could ramble on forever and ever in an age. But that's where we start. We start with ritual magic, okay? Because ritual, of course, is a magical headspace, at least in terms of neuroscience. And we've talked about that in the past. And I will cover that in a larger context in the future as well, because I think there's a fascinating thread that really leads us to some interesting places regarding ancient and modern ritual. But in this case, St. Paddy's Day, 100% ritual. There's no doubt about it. Wear the green or get the mean. That's it, right? You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch, right? Rhyme in the words. Anyway, so here's a small strange fact about March 17th that almost nobody thinks about. You were expected to wear green, as I said. Not invited, expected. There is a social penalty for this refusal. In American schools, the penalty is a pinch. In bars, it is a look. In parades, it is invisibility. The entire day is organized around a color, and the organizing principle is compulsion. You must wear it or answer for why you didn't. Simple enough, right? And there's no real penalty other than sort of a social stigma for a moment, right? But anyway, this would be unremarkable if the color in question had always meant what we assume it now means. Irish pride, Celtic heritage, the green hills of the Emerald Isle. But green did not always mean those things. In the oldest and most persistent folklore of the island, this holiday claims to celebrate, green meant something else entirely. And this is going to set us up for the rest of this conversation because this is super weird. Green meant danger. It meant the otherworld. It meant the color of beings you did not want to attract, and wearing it was not an act of pride, but an act of recklessness that could get you taken and never returned. The story of how that happened, how a color of warning became a color of celebration, is not a conspiracy per se, but it seems like nobody really planned it. Or did they? It's one of those quiet, accumulating mysteries where every layer makes sense on its own and the total makes no sense at all. And of course, you have to start with the fairies, the fae folk, okay? The Emerald Island and green, the color green, okay? Blending in to the hills. And you have to forget everything regarding fairies about Disney, Peter Pan, and all the nonsense that they fed us with modern mainstream propaganda and mass media and all the rest of that. Forget that stuff. Throw it out. But the Irish fairy tradition is not a children's story. It is a complete cosmology. We've talked about this in the past quite a lot. A system for understanding invisible powers in the landscape, and it was taken with full seriousness by ordinary people well into the living memory of the 20th century. The beings at the center of the system go by many names. The Aes Sidhe, I think is how you say it, Sidhe, S-I-D-H-E, links are in the description, check it out, or the good people, the gentry, the other crowd. The polite names are themselves a technology. You used flattering language because the beings in question were listening, and giving offense was genuinely dangerous. Now, like I said, the bizarre part is, so if you go back, and we've talked about fairy circles, we've talked about the Fey realm, and all of this stuff, okay, and how it is dangerous to wander into the forest alone. But now we're talking about wandering into the rolling hills, the rolling green hills of the Emerald Island, which is, of course, Ireland itself. Now, in that particular sense, it does make a certain easy to make an argument that the natural color of the island is clearly green. Not just the forest green, but also the rolling hills. And in the interesting part of this, or the fascinating aspect of it, is that it does kind of caution you to wander off, lest you get lost, and end up in a particular place and don't know how to find your way home, right? Wander through that fairy circle, the Fae folk take notice, you don't give a proper offering or a proper consideration to them, and so maybe you're disoriented and you wander away from home instead of back, okay? And these are stories that are European. These go back hundreds and even thousands of years, not just Ireland, of course. But in this particular case, the dominant tradition holds that these beings are the Tuath de Danann, I think is how you say it. Links again in the description. The old gods of Ireland who ruled the island before the arrival of the Gaels, the final wave of human settlers in the mythological cycle. When the Gaels defeated them, the Tuath de Danann did not leave. They withdrew. They retreated into the Sidhe Mounds, the thousands of earthen hills and ring forts scattered across the Irish landscape. And from there, they continued to exercise power over the visible world. They were not dead. They were not gone. They were adjacent. And again, talking about the unseen realm here. Clearly, the Fae folk are a massive part of this. And we talked about this the last episode a little bit with the mushrooms and the weird seeing the little entities. So I find it fitting that we find ourselves talking about this in a similar fashion several days later for, again, happy St. Patrick's Day. But anyway, so they lived in a place that overlapped with this one, but operated by different rules. And the boundary between their world and ours was thin in certain places and at certain times. And where on earth have you heard that before? Now, the question I have for you is this. Now, this gets into the larger weirdness where we have this green man in the walls. If you see the graphic there, we'll get into this because this is also a mysterious entity, not just in Ireland, but in most of Europe that goes back hundreds of years as well, that nobody really knows what it is. And again, all these links are in the description down below. I encourage you to read them in full if you're interested. But the green man, also known as a foliate head, is a motif in architecture and art of a face made of or completely surrounded by foliage, right? Which normally spreads out from the center of the face. Apart from the purely decorative function, the green man is primarily interpreted as a symbol of rebirth, representing the cycle of new growth that occurs every spring. But that's sort of a hip shot guess because it doesn't seem to be cooked into the larger Catholic or Christian or even Protestant context, which, you know, the Catholics and the Protestants had a real big dust up in Ireland, ugly for a very long time. Still that wound burns deeply. But in this particular case, this green man, I don't know, it makes me wonder if there's something whispering in the ears of would-be compatriots in the larger context of Ireland itself. And of course, the folklore and the mythology that goes all the way back. Anyway, so we'll get into that as we go. But the question is for you guys as we start tonight is real simple. Why green? Does it make some sense? And have you ever heard the tale where if you wear green in the Ireland, the hilly fields of Ireland, it becomes a dangerous place? All the links are on the description. So if you want to follow up on me and double check, please do. But this is a weird one. And I do wonder why it swapped, not just in the case of patriotism and war in the Emerald Isle and all the things they talk about Ireland being. But then this has become at least a Western phenomenon of St. Paddy's Day with everything's green. The green beer, you wear the green shirt, the green everything. Otherwise, what? But the question is why? Because if this was truly a dangerous color in the days of yore, why is it now a ritual on a very particular day where things around us start to become green? Of course, I'm talking about spring. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. Lots of ideas here. We'll get into the green man and some of these other weird ideas that come together as we go. The write-up is very good tonight. If you're interested and kind of want the deeper dive of exactly what I'm talking about, yeah, please check that out. It is the Troubled Minds newsletter. And yeah, links in the description down below. Please check it out. Anyway, that's where we begin. Lots of things in play, lots of things in motion. We'll cover them as we go because it's too much too fast, but you get the idea. Why green? Why this bizarre ritual? Why are we still dealing with rituals in 2026? Because, of course, we live in a scientific realm, don't we? We live in the realm of the seen, not the unseen. However, the Fae folk would like a word. Love to hear your thoughts. The phone number is not working tonight because, again, literally my entire audio setup, 15 minutes to showtime, broke again. So I'm going to have to figure that out long term. So we're kind of limping along again. We are taking your calls on the Discord if you want to be part of the conversation at 702, not 702. troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. There you go. See, there you go. Old habits. Right there on the Discord. Buttons right on top. It's blue. You can't miss it. Please join the Discord. Come say hi to all the amazing people that make this show go. Anyway, that's that. That's where we start. It's really weird with the ritual stuff, but then it goes back as I described. We'll get into the Green Man as we go as well. Love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to James in Michigan. Thanks for being patient, my man. I don't know if this is going to work, so before you start going, let me click a couple buttons here and make sure we're good. Let's see. Pro second here. I guess we'll just say hello, James. Welcome, James. How you doing?
Say hello, James. I'm sorry. When we actually say hello. Hello. No, I'm just kidding.
Hello,
but I'm
James.
here.
Okay, perfect. Speak again just a little bit, adjusting your volume.
Okay, speaking more.
Speaking
again.
Okay, can you guys hear James on the Discord? Everything seems to be coming out to the radio station and to the stream, so we're good there. And James can hear me. I can hear James. Thank you, James. Welcome to the thing. What's on your mind? I know you got a chance to peek at the write-up there. There's a ton of really fascinating stuff going on with this. And what do you know about St. Paddy's Day? Welcome to the joint.
Yeah, I don't really know much about the day at all, but the green is fascinating to me. Also, just thinking of now these days how the whole idea of our traffic light systems, green is for go, is for good, and red is supposed to be for stop, and or for danger. The meanings of colors or the associations of colors are fascinating to me because you have those, but then this reminds me of the show quite a while ago now, I think, we did on orbs and all the different color of orbs, and there is no consensus on what each color orb means. It depends on what sources you go to as far as whether they're good or bad, or what they symbolize, what they're supposed to, what kind of energy they give off. So this is really fascinating, and especially with the green and the way that little folk have been seen to just blend in with the environment. Sometimes it's just the clothes they wear, but other times you get reports of these people actually appearing to be almost the color of the world around them, green or brown, all those kinds of colors, and more like a greenish brown. I'm definitely not the best with colors because I'm legally blind, but I've heard accounts of all these things, which are really fascinating when you look at all that, and it continues to this day.
Yeah, well said. And those are earth shades, right? You get the browns, you get the greens, you get the forest, you get even the desert, kind of that light brown color, the sand color. It does fit into this. Clearly, the natural world relies heavily on chlorophyll and the color green, but of course, that also in folklore does that kind of brings that dangerous element of the wild, sort of wandering out into the wild, the fairy circles, the fey realm, and all this stuff. It is supposed to be a scary place. And so I do wonder, all this stuff like you're describing, very well said with the stoplights and things. These things are very built into us, basically our evolution. And red stands out for a very particular reason, and green seems to be sort of that calming pattern, maybe not just for our mind, but for our psyche. And in this particular case, not just for nature, but I don't know, maybe there's a different aspect to it. Like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff. I was just reading up and I wonder why it is green. And I started digging and I was like, holy crap, this is actually very, very, very deep. And not only that, I've never heard anybody talk about this. That doesn't mean nobody talks about it. I'm just saying I'm a really weird guy that's talked about a lot of really weird things. And in this particular case, never heard of it. But welcome to Troubled Minds. Got about a couple minutes left, and of course, you're welcome to sit in. I appreciate you very much. What else you got? Tons of stuff here to tackle, and ritual magic, here we come.
Yeah, happy to sit in. This is also reminding me of something I've heard of with a different color, more of like the orange or red color, where in some of the missing 411 stuff, which a lot of that I've heard there's a lot of debate about how much of that is can be explained by prosaic or just regular mundane explanations. But some of the vanishings, people that have vanished in those in that whole series of disappearances, they were wearing like a red or orange colored clothing before they disappeared. So colors do seem to be important in some cases to different phenomenon. And so I'm really curious about now. I'm wondering how often have people throughout time been wearing green when they saw little folk or anything paranormal out in nature, and how often has that led to more paranormal activity around them while they're out there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hell of a question. And I think, you think about green in terms of the natural realm and us wearing green. Clearly, it's a camouflage effect, right? I mean, this has been used forever for, concealment purposes, for battle purposes. Guerrilla warfare relied heavily on camouflage and stealth. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot here, not just regarding sort of the seen world. Those are the things we do know. But what about the unseen? Have you heard that the color green worn in nature, specifically the rolling hills of Ireland, is a dangerous color that you're bringing upon you, not a curse, but an entity with an eye, maybe looking to say hi or to punish you or something in between? Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, at troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. We're here with James Salcedo tonight, of course, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, a dear friend and the glue of the show. What do you know about this? And isn't it strange that the ritual of St. Paddy's Day is wear green or you get pinched or get cast shade on you or whatever? I mean, there's no actual, like I said, no real social effect to it other than it is a ritual. What's going on with it? Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. Be right back. More on the way. Bear with me tonight. Everything is broken. I went to push my MIDI buttons, and those are completely dark right now, too. So I'm going to have to do this the old school way. So here we go. Troubled Minds, more Troubled Minds coming up after the break. We got Joe in Florida, more from James, and your calls as well. I don't know the answers, but I sure have a hell of a lot of questions. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Reminds me a little bit of Braveheart. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Thanks, James, for sitting in here. Appreciate you very much. What's up, Matt, Sal, Herschel, APOC, Joe, and Daryl on Discord. I see you guys. Joe coming up next. Over on YouTube, we got who's here? Richard in Texas. How you doing? What's up, James? Matt's out. Yeah, what a weird ritual, right? Exactly. What's up, Fred? How are you? Joe in Florida. Good evening, guys. Hope everybody's well tonight. Yeah, I don't know. Answers few, questions many, as I always say. It's a weird one. And like I said, I think some of these things that we take for granted, the more you think about them and kind of dig a little bit, I think there's going to be a ton of really weird stuff here as part of it. So, yeah, what's up? James got first over there on Rumble. We got Puff, and that's going to be Kramos. I see you guys. Yeah, this goes deeper yet. This goes deeper yet. So, Matsal adds to make your kids wear bright colors so you can spot them easier, right? Obviously, in that particular case, if you run off into the forest wearing green and brown pants, right? You're you zig when you should zag, and this is a many stories have gone awry. They start with that tale. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up, and thanks again for bearing with me and the tech issues and all the things. And yeah, Michael Strange is human after all. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, of course, and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk folklore, as we talk the color green, as we talk about St. Patrick's Day. Why? Exactly why do we wear green? Now, here's the thing. The part most people don't know is St. Patrick's wasn't green, it was blue. St. Patrick's blue was the saint's color for centuries. The harp on a blue field was Ireland's emblem. Green didn't take over until Irish rebels in the 1790s adopted it as the color of revolution. And here's where it gets weird, of course, which is why we talk about these things. Now, we started with the Irish ritual, or not necessarily Irish ritual, the sort of worldwide or at least Western ritual of pinching people on St. Paddy's Day if you don't wear green. Now, that's a sort of a school, you go around pinching people in 2026, you're likely to get shot. So don't do that, right? But you get what I mean. You get shade cast at you and whatnot. It's weird, but also not. It's so socially innocuous that it's almost invisible. And yet everybody knows about it anyway. And that's the weird thing about rituals. We do them all the time. We even participate in them without any coaxing, really, because we get excited about a holiday or whatever. They're going to serve green beer at the local bar, whatever. And then we do it. I don't know. It's weird. It's a strange thing. Like I'll get deeper into this in the fae folk and sort of the fairy circles and this green man, because the green man in the walls really makes me wonder who this entity is. And not just a circle, a representation of the circle of life itself, birth and rebirth, but something maybe a little deeper, a little more primordial. But what do you know about it? Love to hear your thoughts. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show. Just put your hand up when you're in there, and love to hear your ideas. Anything on that, James? And we'll go to Joe in Florida.
Yeah, it's amazing how these little folk or green figures, they did start out, as from what I've heard, in the part of the world we're talking about there, but also those kinds of sightings still happen here. Even the part of getting lost, people getting lost in spaces out in nature, and seeing figures while they get lost before, during, or after, it also still happens today in the U.S. as well. So it really is fascinating. It doesn't seem like it's, at least anymore, nothing is really bound to any one area like it maybe used to be, or at least the way it seemed to be before.
Yeah, missing 411, anybody? It's certainly kind of echoes some ancient thoughts here, at least in me. Stirs that sort of ancient feeling of that the woods is a dangerous place, the wild is a dangerous place. I don't know. What do you guys know about it? Again, one more time, TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Love to hear your thoughts on this. And the question is that I should have read when we started there, but is this: have you ever had an experience where a color, a symbol, or a piece of clothing felt like it carried weight beyond what it should? In this ritual manner of wearing green or whatever. Something you wouldn't wear to a certain place, something that felt like it meant more than fabric. You see? And, think of a rosary or things like this, and not to be sacrilegious and point that as one specific, but you get the idea. There's a lot of things here we do ritually that are, some are easily accounted for and very well traced back a long way, but some are kind of ambiguous, and it's not exactly clear where some of these things came from. Though, we have our best guesses from anthropologists and, all the people that have been studying this. But still, without a definitive documentation, many of these things are simply guesses. Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Joe in Florida. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, I missed the very beginning, but St. Patty's Day comes around, and I usually, and if I can find the picture, I'll post it later, but one of my men's league's teams, we were called Oboobigans, Brawlers, and it was a leprechaun on the hockey jersey. It was all green. Anyway, my number was 13 on that. But I don't know, when it comes to Green Men on the Wall and things like that, you just mentioned Missing 411, aliens, and how they appear to you. Maybe in your mind, we see them as owls. Some people think that the owls, an owl is not what it seems. That could be encounters on the wall. Part of me also thinks, like we know, nothing new here, but, everything is green and lush in Ireland. And part of me wonders if some of it is from things that they've seen, if it's maybe they've taken some mushrooms or something. I believe the green was more, more of a symbol of revolution. I think you had said that, that the Irish took that up, that color. But then something you said earlier about the symbolism for green, and we always hear, I'm green with envy, which is a sin. Envy could be a sin. Also, green is symbolic for being sick. If you see a cartoon or something and somebody's going to throw up, they usually paint it green. And as I'm sitting here looking at a Regions Bank credit card offer, which I'll probably throw in the garbage, the color of the envelope is green to be associated with money, which is worship, that we worship as money. I don't know, and then part of me was thinking about, I think you had mentioned that maybe you saw part of American Gods, and that American Gods is a leprechaun, and he's tall, and it's kind of fun, and I believe he fights one of the characters for his gold coin, which again has something to do with money and envy and the riches that a leprechaun is supposed to have.
I saw that one. I saw that part. Incredible. Sorry, go ahead.
So in that show was fun, and I really actually liked, because I didn't really read into a lot of the legends about leprechauns and things like that, but seeing that show as an adult and seeing that view of a leprechaun, especially when I believe Neil Gaiman is more British, but either or, it was just kind of a fun take on it, if anybody's watched that besides you and me. I don't know there was much symbolic in there, except for the generalization of belief. What do we believe in? And in that show, it was clearly stated that every culture or ethnicity that came to this country brought with them something from their home country. So maybe the Irish were leprechauns, and maybe the Vikings brought the Norse gods, and the Africans on their slave ships bought their gods. I don't know how far you went on the show, but all of those beliefs and things like that. The thing that strikes me kind of funny, maybe not so funny, but we have a universal, we all know the universal story of the flood. The flood motif or the flood scenario seems to be universal throughout all the cultures in the world. And it seems like this particular story has a definition to a book that I read. It was either Leaving Eden or Escaping Eden. But in that book, the guy's talking about the God of the Old Testament. So the God of the Israelites. And at some point, that God doesn't directly interfere, but he kind of goes away and is in the background. But he also lays threats out of if you don't do this or if you don't do that, and there's punishment, maybe a little bit more than being pinched, but there's threats and there's things. And we also see saints and angels. It's just weird. I don't know if it's a universal story in the Matrix or whatever you believe, or if stories were passed on from travelers and then they were adapted to the people that told them. I think about the 13th Warrior, that movie where the Muslim came and ended up with the Vikings and learned their traditions, and things get traded and stories get told and stories change over time. But anyway, it's a fun show for the night. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But kind of curious what the Green Man on the wall, just like the Hat Man. Now when I see the Hat Man, I think it's Melania Trump. I don't know. I try to stay off the Benadryl, so I don't see the Hat Man too often. But it's, if you want to see the Hat Man, take some Benadryl and have a good time with that.
Don't do that. Wait! Don't get us in trouble. Don't take drugs, kids. Don't do it. Make sure you consult your doctor before you change your diet. Absolutely, don't do that. What are you doing, Joe? What are you doing?
Hey, I'm in Florida, man. You know how much pollen's going on? We just pop Benadryl whenever we want, and we hallucinate whenever we want.
Fair enough. Okay, all right. Still don't do it, kids.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Just like don't do mushrooms with rings around them in a field that you find in a cow patty or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it is strange, right? So the color green, once again, is obviously nature's color. And this goes back centuries in terms of worshiping nature. That part's obvious. But again, like I said, there's enough here to kind of make you scratch your head and wonder why St. Pat's is green instead of blue. Because like I said, check out these. If you guys are interested in the rabbit hole, do dig into when this stuff changed. Again, 1780s, it was adopted by the Anglo Order, Irish Order of St. Patrick, where this came from, and then the revolutionaries adopted green, which was again the color you're not supposed to wear in the wild, lest you end up banished by the Fey folk. So it's an interesting take here on when there was very clearly a color, but they changed it to something, not like red for to stand out against the background. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing when you kind of put all the pieces together.
I mean, it sounds like in general, if you're going to have a rebellion, you want to be rebellious, right? So I know, I can't remember the first time I saw it, but when I saw the A for anarchy written crooked, and I'm a kid, and it's like, what is that associated with it? It's anarchy. So, maybe you have the answer for that. I'm not delving too deep into it, but green, if green meant maybe being cursed or something like that, again, maybe it's just that it was adopted for outright rebellion, which we know happened well into the 80s with the IRA and flag and other things. So if I had to be, why was the Gadsden flag, a chopped up steak or whatever, don't tread on me, all of those things. Or the Appeal to Heaven flag, I believe, has a green pine tree on it. I think that reminds me of a Lebanese thing that I've seen, but those, why? I don't know. So.
Yeah, well, that's why we're talking about it. It is weird. What about the ritual? Do you think it is strange that, not that adults really do this, but it kind of grade school stuff, you wear green or you get pinched. You think that's a weird ritual? And why do we all know it? That's kind of the whole space that brought me into these ideas.
I remember hearing about it. I don't think I ever really got pinched, but if you got pinched now, it could be, you could be in jail for that, for assault. But maybe just a little innocence to maybe make people fit in or bring attention to the story. Hey, why'd I get pinched? Hey, why didn't you wear green? Hey, why didn't you kiss me underneath the mistletoe? Is it any different? We have these little cultural things to maybe make it acceptable. We all know that a lot of like Grimm's fairy tales, things are adopted when we read when we're kids. There could be, when we get older, they're much more graphic, right? You hear about, we see the Count on Sesame Street. But if you look at Nosferatu, that was a pretty nasty story. The remake was pretty nasty. So there's always something underneath, and maybe it's just to tone it down for kids. I know when I was a kid, Puerto Rican or Spanish folklore, if I wouldn't go to sleep at night, my grandmother would, I forget what she called it, but It was basically the guy with the sawed nose. Like he had a long nose that was shaped like a saw. And if you didn't go to bed, he might show up in your window and stuff. And they would tell me that to scare me, But growing up now, all of a sudden I was in Puerto Rico a couple of months ago. And I'm like, where's the chupacabra? So who knows? Right? Who knows? And it's fun. But these things are all fun. They're all fun until you go missing in the lush green woods.
Exactly right. Which let's all avoid that. There's a lot of stories about that missing 411 by David Politis.
Exactly.
If you haven't checked into that, we should circle back to that at some point too, because we talked about it a long time ago, literally probably 5+ years ago. But there's been so many bizarre cases since then. That's we should circle back. I'll do some digging on that and talk about some of that stuff. But yeah, fire stuff. I appreciate you very much. If you got anything else, go ahead. If not, I appreciate you. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, sir.
You know what I found awkward when you bring up missing 411, and likelihood it was lightning strikes, but I think in more than one occasion this past summer in different parts of the country, 2 people, either they showed up missing, but they were found, but they were struck by lightning and they were killed. And I think it was 2 sets of people, maybe 3. I have to look at the conversations because my buddy who lives up in Pennsylvania, he's always looking for Sasquatch and things like that. Actually, he did have a story a couple of nights ago that he came up like 2 a.m. to his cabin and he got out. And I believe, I'm not going to spare the details, we're looking for the Facebook message, but he went outside and he was coming out of the truck and everything was just kind of quiet. He goes, everything was quiet. And he swore something was watching him. And he just went into his place and he was kind of creepy. And where he lives in Somerset County, apparently there's a lot of sightings for Sasquatch. But he's the one that we had the conversation about these people that have died and were found. But it turns out they're probably struck by lightning and the lightning wiped them all out together. But, people are missing and you're right. And it's gone on. And some of them have showed up. Nobody knows. But yeah, it would be good to do a little revisit on that.
Amen. So, it's on the list. It's on the list. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for jumping in here. Always a pleasure. Not Valentine's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Have a good week. You too. Thanks for jumping in. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. That's Joe in Florida. You know him, you love him, a good friend for a long time. If shout out Kelly. Kelly was the first guy to call into the show and then call back. Joe was the second. These guys have been friends for years, as many of you have as well. That's the point. Just kind of appreciate you chipping in and helping out with the ideas. And kind of like I said, the great part about this, in my opinion, is I don't know what show I'm going to do on Thursday, and clearly neither do you. And kind of just showing up and expecting something strange, something weird, something off the beaten path is good because it engages your mind in a way you didn't expect. Clearly, tonight is very, very linear in terms of it's St. Patrick's Day. However, I typically don't do shows like this on the holiday itself or around the holiday because that's what everybody else does. Except this thread was too deep and too esoteric and too strange for me to not touch. And then the holiday would be gone, and then what? I'd have to sit on this. So we're doing it. We're just doing it tonight. Zigging and zagging as usual, doing things you don't expect from Troubled Minds. But yeah, so look at this. The official color of, again, Ireland going back hundreds of years was blue until the revolution. And then in their particular revolution, there's been several, of course, that again, the Catholics and the Protestants is a really ugly thing over there, but they changed their color to green. And now St. Patty's Day is represented by that weird ritual of the pinching, which again is a grade school thing, but still everybody does know about it. I did get pinched when I was little, but pinch those cute cheeks. Oh, Mike's adorbs or not, whatever, right? Like nobody ever actually drew blood or anything, but you get the meaning. Not that you should. It's weird. It's a bizarre ritual, and it may be harmless fun, but also when you trace all this all the way back to where it came from, it may not always be. So I don't know. James, anything to add to what Joe said? I got tons of stuff to get to, of course. We need to get to the green man on the cut into the castle walls of not just Europe, but Ireland and everywhere else over there.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I never heard of it actually being part of the walls either. But it's really amazing to me how this also connects or could connect in a way to aliens. There have been a lot of people that over the years have talked about how it seems like in some ways aliens and fae or fairies or little folk at times seem similar. And sometimes in their appearance, sometimes just in what they do. in terms of appearing and vanishing. The worst part would be the abduction part, of course. But these ideas of these figures, and the other thing about that is, from what I've read and heard, there's this belief that the fae or fairies were shapeshifters as well. So there's the common appearances of these shorter little figures, but there's also this idea that they could be anything that you encounter in the woods. They don't have to be just a figure that is just little and green. I ran into an account the other day, and I do wonder about this. If they're still around, do they know us? Do they pay attention to us? Do they look into our minds? Because I came across an encounter the other day online, a post from someone that says 20 years ago when they were a kid, they felt something poke them in the neck, almost like a bug bite. And they turned and they looked, and they saw, funny enough, a tiny winged humanoid fly away. And they found these two little bumps on the back of their neck. And so these kinds of encounters, and so my point of bringing up the winged humanoid thing is maybe they didn't start out that way, but also if they can change shape, do they sometimes take on the appearance of what we expect them to take on, what we expect them to look like, or figures that we hear about in popular culture based on the thoughts of the people that they encounter out there.
Yeah, well said, all that. And funny you say that the Fae folk are shapeshifters. Many have suggested that Sasquatch belongs to that group, belongs to them, and that's how they manifest to the eyes of people when they would like to manifest. Other than, again, sort of the tropes of Tinkerbell, as you described, the little winged entity flying away with the clip or the pinch on the neck, whatever happened with that. But I mean, that's the thing. Going to a little Dungeons and Dragons lore as well, they have something in D&D called the Bugbear, which is a sneaky, brutish Fae folk. Essentially Bigfoot. They just didn't rip off Bigfoot directly. They just called it something else. But it is a creature of stealth, even though it's massive and can, fight you. Again, D&D lore-wise. But it is part of that realm, and maybe how they manifest directly, physically in this realm itself. So, I don't know, again, conceptual thinking. As usual, look, if you don't believe in any of this stuff, perfect, cool. It's still kind of a cool tale to talk about and talk about the lore of different spaces and how they come together or don't. And I don't know, wild stuff. What else you got? Go ahead if you got anything else.
Well, there's also sightings of women in white in the woods too. And they're said to be sort of ethereal, almost like they could be again, maybe it could be Fae, shapeshifting into that common image, that common trope. But the green, to me, the color thing is fascinating because no matter what color you want to pick, it seems like you'll find it applied to various things, good, bad, or neutral. And I was also wondering, when it comes to that green being picked as a color for revolution, was it more, was there an idea, maybe a subconscious idea that, we're going to choose this color to become like these other beings that were so feared in our part of the world for so long, or are still feared. And, it was sort of it was an intentional thing, even if maybe not everyone thought of it that way.
Yeah, well said. Which is the weird part about, one of the weird parts about all this. That's the thing, right? And I'll read the blurb on the Fae folk and the color green in Ireland and how it fits into sort of the danger color when we come back. But I want to shout out too. What's Up Daryl in New York says this. She says in the chat, I never heard of the pinching. So also let's sound off in the chat if anybody's out there and wants to participate, at least in terms of type, talk. Have you heard of not wearing green in grade school or whatever, and you get pinched on St. Patty's Day? I mean, I thought everybody knew that. I thought that this was ubiquitous in the West, but what do I know? I'm just a California kid. Hey, shout out California kids. A funny thing on the pinch too. I'll tell this story because it's fantastic. From my youth, my maternal grandmother, full-blooded Mexican. Okay, came here literally from Mexico way back in the day. Okay, through New Mexico and then eventually up to California, which is where she met my grandfather. Et cetera, so on. But because of the pinching, my sister, being the trickster entity she is, my older sister, she's just a shout out if you're listening, sis, you're a pain in the ass, but we love you. But she would always be pushing the envelope in all the ways, and she'd run around pinching us on any day, right? Me and my brother, because one, she was a bully, and she was bigger than us because we were real small still yet compared to her. But then also she would say, pinche, right? To see if she could get away with saying it, right? The Mexican swear word without grandma hearing or, kind of not noticing. And it was the funniest thing. She used to get away with it. And then one day grandma heard it, and faster than you could snap your fingers, the good old days, grandma is there sooner than a blink of an eye, just wham, slaps her across the face for saying the word. But anyway, maybe it's more amusing to me than it is to you. But there you go. We're talking St. Patty's Day tonight. Not just the color green, but the fact that the traditional St. Patrick's color going back hundreds of years was actually blue. And for the latest revolution, not latest, but the famous revolution, they changed the color to green, which is the faithful color, which was a mark of danger that you were not supposed to wear in the wild for some reasons I'll talk about when we get back. I'm calling this a color no one chose, the green man, the green man in the walls, and we'll get to that when we get back because this is an important part of this. And I do wonder what this green man represents, carved into castle walls all over Europe, all over Ireland, and of course, that entire area. And it's really ambiguous of who this is, other than some primordial nature, spirit. What is this? I don't know. Strange stuff. And like I said, the more I looked into this, the more spooky things got. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I got some more questions to ask as we go. Bear with me as I push some buttons here. Let's see if this one works. Oh my goodness, it worked. Do you want to be part of the conversation tonight? This is Troubled Minds. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link, pop on in here. We got James Salcido and your calls as well. What do you know about St. Patty's Day? And maybe I'm an outlier, knowing that if you didn't wear green in grade school or whatever, you got pinched. Was that just a California thing? Maybe I'm way off base here. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. I'd read the number. It's not working. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. You're right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. Hear how it fades like that? It doesn't even fade. Something is so broken with this damn thing. I need a warranty recall. What in the hell is going on? Okay, all right. Let's press some buttons and make some things happen here. Everything broke again just before showtime. Super awesome. All right, here we go. Nothing like clicking buttons on the fly trying to figure things out. No, that's not it. Okay, let's just go straight to the thing. Where's the news? Buttons are stuck. Everything's stuck. All right. Don't worry. We'll fix it in post. All right. Here we go. Let's hit the news.
Let's check the news. A groundbreaking development in brain technology is offering new hope to people living with severe paralysis. Researchers from Mass General Brigham and Brown University have published findings in a leading science journal describing an implantable brain-computer interface that allows users to type by simply attempting to move their fingers, with the system mapping those brain signals directly onto a standard keyboard. In clinical trials conducted inside participants' own homes, one user with ALS achieved speeds of 22 words per minute with a word error rate of just 1.6%. The system requires as few as 30 sentences to set up and incorporates a predictive language model to ensure accurate output, a combination that researchers say positions brain-computer interfaces as a genuine alternative to the slow, frustrating communication tools currently available to patients. Turning now to a story with a decidedly different tone, a humanoid robot at a hot pot restaurant in San Jose, California made headlines this week after going rogue during what appears to have been a promotional event tied to Disney's upcoming film. Video circulating on social media shows the apron-clad robot knocking over tableware, smashing plates, and sending chopsticks airborne before 3 employees were required to physically restrain it. Observers online were quick to note the conspicuous absence of an emergency power switch, with one commenter pointing out that no one should have to navigate a smartphone app to stop a malfunctioning machine. And finally, a heart doctor with 2 decades of clinical experience is drawing attention to an overlooked contributor to heart disease, the evening routine. Writing from personal practice, the physician outlines 7 behaviors avoided after 7 p.m., including late-night eating, exposure to bright LED lighting, and emotionally charged television. The reasoning draws on the body's internal clock, noting that insulin sensitivity drops after sunset and that the sleep hormone, suppressed by blue-spectrum light, plays a measurable role in overnight blood pressure regulation. The core argument is straightforward. The body's capacity to repair itself depends heavily on signals it receives in the hours before sleep. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed, with my lovely assistant, Microsoft Mira, or whatever her name is. What's up? Hope everybody's well tonight. Matt's what's up, Herschel? What's up, Bailey, APOC? We got Sachas here. Daryl in New York. Thanks for the chat there. And look, again, you're calling me out. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm an outlier and everybody else wasn't getting pinched in grade school. What's up, Joe? Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call. What is up? Richard in Texas says we did that here in Texas too in grade school. Okay, cool. So I'm not the only one. Yeah, I don't know. I dig the news. Yeah, the news, right? I mean, it's got some good stuff. It is curated by me. It's not curated by AI. So it is read by AI, but I do pick the news articles because I think some of that stuff is important, not just for propaganda wise, but for real stuff happening in the real world. I mean, a robot like kind of smashing up a place. I'm not sure I believe that. I mean, you know what I mean? That it wasn't staged somehow for clicks and attention because, 2026. Anyway, what's up? I hope you guys are well tonight. What's up, Merlin Magi? Gordo's over there. We got a puff sighting on Rumble. Hope you guys are well tonight. What's up, Hiker Emoji? How are you? Good evening, guys. Talking some St. Patty's Day tonight and a little bit of weird stuff. And we're going to get to exactly what it means in the color green in Ireland and the rolling hills and all that, because this is where things really get weird and paranormal-esque. Okay? So hang tight. More coming up in just a minute here. If I missed anybody, sorry about that. Doing my best to keep up and say hi to all the folks. Thanks again for hanging out and being part of this. And thanks for, spending your St. Patty's Day with us. I'm drinking a regular beer, not green beer. I don't even know where to get a green beer. Okay, here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, I'm calling this a color no one chose, the green man in the walls. And we started with this bizarre story about the true color of St. Patrick's going back in Ireland hundreds of years is actually blue. So why on earth do we wear green? Why is the beer green? Why do they do the green rituals? And this is one that I didn't know. So Daryl in the chat, shout out Daryl, and I don't know if I said it before we left, but Daryl said that I didn't know about the pinching thing. So maybe I'm an outlier, once again, that in grade school in California, if you didn't wear green on St. Patrick's Day, you got pinched, right? Does anybody remember this? Maybe it's just a way to, for grade school kids to pinch each other's asses, which is completely inappropriate. I understand, but it is school kids. What are they going to do? Inappropriate stuff constantly and continually. But you get what I mean. Am I the only one? Richard says no in the chat. So that's the thing. Look, I don't know. Maybe I'm the outlier here. But anyway, it's strange to me that the color green is associated. But even though St. Patrick's, the color for St. Patrick going back in Ireland is blue for centuries. So we have a weird situation going on. And here's where this gets incredibly bizarre. Okay, this is straight from the write-up. So please check this out. And all of the links, there's tons of links in the description because I wanted to make sure we filled this out and got like a bunch of information in case you were like, no, Mike sounds like he's full of crap tonight. Look, I'm usually full of crap in a creative way. Okay. But a lot of that stuff is based on narrative building. A lot of that stuff is based on true stuff. Okay. And that's the point. I'm not lying to you by telling you, think of it this way. Look at it this way. I'm extrapolating on ideas. Okay. So again, once again, no truth to be found here, et cetera, so on. But check this out. This is where this gets spooky. Green was the fairy color. It was theirs. A person who wore a full green outfit was understood to be either courting fairy attention or marked for fairy abduction. The shade mattered less than the principle. Green was the uniform of a nation you did not belong to, and putting it on was kind of a trespass, a border crossing into territory that had its own laws and its own enforcers. The folk record is not ambiguous about this. Lady Wilde, Oscar's mother and a formidable folklorist in her own right, documented the association in her 1887 collection Ancient Legends, Mystic Charms, and Superstitions of Ireland, and W.B. Yeats threaded it through his fairy and folk tales of the Irish peasantry. The school's collection contains hundreds of localized versions of the same warning. Do not wear green. It belongs to them, and they will notice. So isn't that strange? Once again, kind of putting these ideas, it's a blender of ideas, but it certainly makes you raise an eyebrow when it comes to this stuff, which brings us, of course, to the Green Man. We'll get to that in just a second, but it fits into this very well because you know me and my love of that idea of a primordial nature spirit. Maybe we've got the face of this, of what this entity actually is, carved into castles across Europe and into the Northern Islands as well. I don't know. Maybe not. But you tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. James, anything to add to that? Appreciate you jumping in here and being part of this and helping me out.
Yeah, a couple of things. I do remember in school hearing about the pinching thing and being afraid it was going to happen. Luckily, it never happened, but I do remember hearing about that out here in Michigan. So it's something I have heard about. I remember vaguely hearing about back in school. So there's that. The other thing is with this Green Man and similar figures, there are accounts of people seeing figures that appear to be humanoid, but they're almost made of or covered in leaves and sticks and twigs and mud out in nature, possibly Bigfoot, possibly something different. And even in some cases, figures made completely out of twigs. In other words, a more natural version of like a stick figure. Now, we did that show a while back with these cartoon-like stick figures, but there are other ones that appear as actually made of twigs. And I've heard of this description of this Green Man sounds almost like it's something or could be something similar, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And all of this, like I said, it does harken back to that primordial space, at least in my heart, of the wilderness and, to revere nature as you should, because nature can turn on a dime and just murder the entire village. And I mean that in the nicest way, if you can say that in a nice way, because it is the void. It is Cthulhu. It is that the fact that nature itself doesn't give a crap about us. It can give us the loveliest weather for 10 years, but then winter is coming and a bad turn will ruin the crops or whatever and have, people starving and freezing over the winter. I mean, and again, not to be morbid, but these are things we've dealt with over the centuries all over the world. And so it's strange. All this is very strange when you put all these ideas together. But and the Green Man too, I'll get to that in a sec because I think it's important to this narrative. And like I said, if you want the full treatment here, look, I'm not going to just read it straight through because that's boring as hell. I want this to be interactive, to talk to you guys and really kind of kick ideas back and forth. Like I always say, kicking the cosmic soccer ball back and forth, thinking about ideas of the unseen. Now, but this entire Troubled Minds newsletter, go check it out. Links at troubledminds.org right on top. Click it. Go check it out. But this is very good, very in-depth, very good. And I'll read to you about the face here, the Green Man, because this is important to this. But it is, again, hearkening back to that primordial nature spirit, at least in my mind's eye. If I'm not right on this, cool, that's fine. I've been wrong about a ton of things, and I'll continue to be wrong about a ton more. So I'm not tripping about who's right about what. I'm just asking what kind of connections fit into this space. Anything else on that, James? Brilliant stuff so far.
Oops, sorry about that. I had my hand away from the button. No, just it's really fascinating, all this stuff and the possible connections. And I really don't have much right now, but looking forward to what you have and more of the calls.
Okay, thank you very much. You know we love him. Salcedo Paranormal will be back with James momentarily. Okay, yeah, the God Pan, exactly, Matzell. Okay, so check it out. So step back from Ireland entirely and think about this in the larger context of the continental aspect of Europe, okay? And further, so the Green Man, and links are in the description, check it out. I talked about this a little bit earlier. is these foliate faces carved into medieval churches across Europe. Okay, human faces with vegetation erupting from them, leaves growing from mouths and eyes and nostrils in these sacred places, not just inside of churches and outside of castles, all mixed around and recognized fully as, again, so an interpreted symbol of rebirth is what this is called. And this is the official Wikipedia story, right? Of anthropologists and, historians and all the things. But there's no name for this entity, right? I mean, is there really a name? So the green man motif has many variations. Its branches are vines. It's, they talk about him as vegetation deities. What screams primordial nature spirit more than that? It's a ton of stuff, right? But basically, there's no name to this entity other than the green man. Or and look, there's examples on the Wikipedia. You can see some of these kind of drawn in, and maybe it should be Pan or something like that, but it's not. Clearly, it's a different entity. So anyway, let me read this. Now, so here's the thing. So hundreds of documented examples, Romanesque through the Renaissance, and the name itself is modern. As far as we know, as far as I could tell, coined by the Lady Raglan in 1939, meaning the carvings existed for centuries without anyone formally naming or explaining them. So that's where this becomes weird. So, pagan survival, a resurrection symbol, maybe. I mean, we're going through, the rise of Christianity, and you would expect them to be, marking pagan symbols off of their sacred places, because they did that a lot, but they also incorporated a lot, right? If you know your history, there was a sort of a commingling of these things. But this entity, this nameless entity that nobody can really say, yeah, that's such and such, is weird. It sits in a liminal space of these ancient gods. Weird, right? I thought so. Like I said, the more I was reading about this, the more I was getting freaked out. I'm like, okay, maybe there really is something here. Okay, so the competing interpretations, pagan survival, resurrection symbol, decorative motif, memento mori, some have suggested. Who knows? Keeping spirits away. Why do they put these things on castles and in churches? And again, look it up, Green Man. Links are in the description. You can read up on this and see that I'm not just making stuff up. There's no actual name. It's not Hermes. It's not Hephaestus. It's not Zeus. It's a Green Man. Weird, right? It seems weird to me. Is it weird to you? Love to hear your thoughts. I'd read the phone number, but it's broken. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Hop on in here. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Weird stuff happening. And we're talking St. Paddy's Day, not just the color green, but how this fits into the larger area of the Fey realm, Ireland, the blue turning to green, and green being a dangerous color in the Fey realm. Let's go to Matthew in California. What's up, brother? Temple of the Owl. How are you tonight? You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. Good evening, sir. Test 1 2.
Hey, how's my sound?
Gotcha now. Welcome to the thing. You sound fantastic, my man.
Hey, good show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think about this kind of thing a lot. I think it's commercialized to buy all this stuff. But I always thought about as thinking about how it's coming to spring and celebrating how it's becoming green. And one of the things that always tripped me out about the mythology was the story of St. Patrick's drove all the snakes out of Ireland. And that one, I was always wondering, like, how can you get rid of all the snakes from an area? That's not possible. It's kind of a weird story. Then it come to find out, and this is what I think about it, is that it's a metaphor for the witches in the area. They worship snakes, and people always laugh. Oh, snakes, they're poisonous. They're evil. The snake made Eve eat an apple, and it's not good. But I think the reason why witches took snakes as their power animal, not just because of that, because of the poison thing, but then there's like the benefits to the poison in small doses. But then there's also the shedding of the skin, like the rebirth of a snake, and that's why I think a lot of witches take snake as their power animal, because we could see how like we shed our skin, we regrow, we're better tomorrow, kind of thing like that. And that's why the witches kind of chose the snake as their power animal. And so it's a metaphor for they drove the witch. They the saints drove the witches out of the city. And so I always think about this day. It's kind of a somber day for witches, but I'm not making fun of anything. Your tradition, your Irish tradition, like if you have that, like celebrate it, have fun. But it's not a holiday that like we like celebrate. Well, I'll acknowledge it. Like I'll listen to music. I'll listen to some Irish music tonight and acknowledge it. But it's not, because of that, it's not a holiday that I would really like celebrate it. But I see how it's like commercialized. People that you got to buy all the green hats and the funny things. Anything on that?
Yeah, no, everything's commercialized. I mean, there are businesses that are set up around every single thing, right? From New Year's, and then what do you get into? President's Day, and then Valentine's Day, and they make cookies or cakes, or I mean, whatever it is, they sell the decorations and whatnot, and you can literally have a business built on this and just kind of follow those trends of what you're supposed to buy during the season. And we make the joke. They get them, the Thanksgiving stuff. The Thanksgiving ends, or even before Thanksgiving, we're getting Christmas stuff, because you have to sell as much of it beforehand, because otherwise you're kind of giving it away after the holiday. So I mean, from a retail perspective, I get it. I was a retail manager, I get it. But also, like, it's strange to me, not strange, let's say telling, that you can have, as you're saying, and as I'm describing, as this flows through the year, an entire business just built on the commercialism of these ancient and modern holidays and the mixtures of them, because they're not pure as you're describing. They're not as they used to be. They're modern sort of bastardizations of them. And well said. I think you're right on the game there.
Yeah, the holiday section at the store is constantly changing.
Absolutely.
But I have one. So there's that, and then I had one on about the color green and how you're talking about how it used to be blue. And that kind of tripped me out. Good. That's a good topic tonight. But I was thinking about this. I think someone before, and I've read this before somewhere, I think someone before was talking about this. It might have been Kelly in Colorado, maybe. But if I'm wrong, sorry. But he was talking about how, like, back in the day, and like in the ancient times, like in the Egyptian times, like they didn't have a word for the color blue. Like blue was not a word, and that color, they didn't know how to describe what it was. But then, and so like the word blue is like a new, like modern term, and that kind of trips me out, because like, okay, if you've never seen the ocean, like say you live in like Utah and you've never seen the ocean, okay, you like the color blue of the ocean, but then like the sky is blue. And there's blue crystals like emeralds and stuff like that. Like there's blue. How could they have not known what the color blue was, or be able to describe the color blue? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that before?
I've never heard that. No, that's a new one to me, because you're right. I mean, blue's everywhere. Like they were digging blue stones out of the ground. I mean, like this is like the world over, and the sky is blue. Like you said, it's one of the first things you probably come to recognize as being earthbound. You look up and you're like, wow, that's a lot of blue. I mean, I don't know. That's a weird thing to me. If you can send me a link to that, I'd love to dig into that a little further, because it is completely new to me as a concept.
Okay, well, but I thought about that. Like back in the day, they didn't have a word. Like they probably saw the color and like understood it, but they didn't have like a term to describe what it meant. And so that kind of reminds me, it's kind of tripping me out what you're talking about tonight, about how, the original color of the Saints was blue. Like, why is it green now? They changed it, and they changed it to the color of the season, right? The season is green. I look outside my window, I see green. And St. Patrick's Day is a holiday, a celebration in between, like right around springtime. So it makes sense that they changed it to green. And then my next topic I want to talk about real quick, if I have time. Yeah, okay. Is the color green in the ritual, and ritual, like ritual regalia, we call it. And how come they want you to wear green on the specific day? And it's weird. In witchcraft, we have things, we call it regalia, and you'll see like Native Americans have their feathers, I don't know, but like Jewish people have those caps. Different people wear different clothing or articles of clothing to signify that they're going into the ritual. So your mundane clothes, your regular, like everyday clothes, those are your everyday clothes. But when you go into a ritual, you adorn things. You wear the regalia. You put the rings on that's only for those rituals. You put robes, right? We have robes. We have headdresses. We have like gardeners, all the different kinds of regalia, rings, necklaces, jewelry, anklets. They all mean things. They all have meanings to them. And so when I think of the color green, like, why are we supposed to wear, green on this day? Like, what is going on there? What is that? Why is it? I mean, and there's other ones, like, what's another one? Like, where there's something about Labor Day and you have to wear white, right?
Yeah, don't wear white after Labor Day, right?
Yeah, like so there's different kinds of things, like what, like, and what is that? Is that, like, as I was saying, as a perspective, as a person, like, wearing the mundane clothes, and this, I set aside my ritual garb in a box, and it's in a box. It doesn't come out until I'm ready to perform the ritual, and I put it on. Kind of like another one is like baseball gear. You don't wear your baseball gear every day. You only wear it when you go to baseball. If you're a catcher, you wear everything. So it kind of reminds me of that. But like, are you following me on this? Is anything there catching for you?
No, 100%. And the thing that stuck in my mind when you started describing the ritual regalia was your Sunday best, right? It's still brand new, right? Like you keep your church clothes, pressed and clean and ready, and you don't wear that stuff anywhere else, unless there's a big occasion, a wedding or something, right? But for the most part, in the traditional space of Catholicism, or even the big modern Christian churches, that they show up in suits and stuff. Even the little kids, I mean, I don't know if I could put a suit together these days. I was just talking to my nephews over the weekend, just because my wardrobe is all like like a blue collar type stuff. But I was like, hey, if I'm doing it right, because they were going through some ties and stuff, and like I'm like, I don't want any ties. If I'm doing it right for the rest of my life, I'm not going to wear a tie ever again. that ritual regalia for me is over with. I'm either going to die poor or it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I feel that. I always kind of made that joke. Why do you dress up on Sunday to go to church? Like, who are you trying to impress? You're not trying to impress God. A ball of light. He doesn't care what you're wearing. You're trying to impress other people. But then the same thing saying for me, like I was saying, like, my ritual regalia is set aside. Who am I trying to impress? Nobody. It's the regalia, the rings, the necklaces, the robes, the hats, everything like that is, when I go into the ritual, it lets me know, it's letting the universe know that I am going into the ritual. I'm not wearing my mundane clothes. I'm not wearing regular clothes. Anyways, there's a whole topic on that. But I was thinking about it with the color green. Why do we have to wear green, or we get some sort of punishment? And I like it, man. I like the topic. I like the way you're thinking tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And before you go, I want to point out just real quick. So blue was the color of St. Patrick for centuries. And that's why this is weird, because it is St. Patrick's Day. For centuries, the color was blue, and it was changed to green during that after the 1790 revolution, somewhere in that space, I believe it was the date. But this is where the weird part comes in. Why green? And it is, the Emerald Isle of Ireland, and, the rolling hills. We've all seen the pictures. Maybe some of us have been there. It seems to be a very beautiful place, but also seems to be, those islands are, I don't want to say like more inherently dangerous than any other place, but they're surrounded by the ocean, I mean, and the ocean is, shout out to Lily in Australia. If you're out there, she said that the ocean, she lives in Australia, is more dangerous than the bush. So maybe it is crazy. She was straight saying that, like, you end up with more poisonous critters that'll bite you and kill you there. But as we know, the Aboriginal bush is terrifyingly dangerous. They got like 5 of the 7 most poisonous snakes in the world or something. So, I mean, that's the type of stuff that makes you wonder. I don't know. No answers. Just when I think about this stuff, it does make me wonder why. And mix in the fact that we have the color green is the Fey realm. And again, if you wear it into the forest or into these spaces where you're not supposed to, you're marking yourself supposedly, according to some literature. I mean, look, as usual, when you talk about folklore and mythology, there's so many different versions or fractals of these stories. It's impossible to pin down, but this stuff is in the record. So it does make me wonder, why are we wearing green on St. Paddy's Day when St. Patrick's traditional color was blue? And of course, you're not supposed to wear green in the rolling hills of Ireland itself. You see, we have a, I don't know. And not only that, I'll get to the green man in just a second. What else you got, brother?
Yeah, our history is very broken. What it used to be. So I didn't even know that till tonight. But yeah, thanks, Mike. I think it's cool. We're talking about color magic. We're talking about ritual regalia. We're talking about the Fae folks, the fairies. We're talking about holiday. And so, yeah, if you're Irish, yeah, or if you like that kind of stuff, yeah, celebrate it. Listen to some good, Dropkick Murphys or something, music. I don't know, for the one time of the year, listen to it. So have a good time, and that's all it's all about, right? Thanks, Mike, for the good show.
Amen, brother. Thanks for the great call. You were fantastic. Tell Lacey we said hi and have a great night. That's Matthew in California. Matt's Owl, affectionately, templeoftheowl.com. Go find his podcast. He's here on the network with us at Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Very smart guy. Again, I have to mention it every time he talks about this stuff. He has a massive esoteric book collection. He's reading and synthesizing into his podcasts. Check it out. If you haven't, again, just like the ritual regalia, this is the type of stuff that he covers on his show because it's fascinating. It's not just modern, it's also ancient. And these worlds do come together in the modern space. And like me, he's fascinated with all these ideas. And so do us a favor, help our friends. Follow James, of course. Follow Matzell while you're down there. Follow all the amazing folks that make this show go. troubledminds.org/friends, or click the friends link, scroll down. Ton of names there. Again, so many great friends over the years that have helped us with these ideas and supported the show. And it's an in list, not an out list. I say this every single time. If you're not on that list, don't be offended. Just say, hey, Mike, I'm a big fan, whatever. I love the show. I love whatever, this, that. And then here's how I helped a little bit. Please put me on the list. Here's a project I'm working on. Done. You had me at, I should be on the list. Okay. It's very simple. So don't let your feelings get hurt if there's an oversight, because hey, I'm not perfect. And that's that. Tonight we're talking St. Paddy's Day, but not the St. Paddy's Day you would expect, because this is Troubled Minds after all. And we do look at the world slightly differently. All right. What do you know? Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. We got more from James coming up. We got Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well. Green, blue, ritual magic, or just modern commercialism. How do you label this? And what about this mysterious green man all over Europe, on castle walls and in churches themselves? Related or not? Be right back. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More on the way. You hear it? It's still going. I've completely muted it, trying to cancel it. Oh, God. What is going on with this stuff? Okay, sorry about that. One moment, please. Let's get to the news, shall we? My goodness. Okay. All right. Let's check the news.
Let's check the news. A new long-term study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences has confirmed that the greatest threat to juvenile blue crabs in the Chesapeake Bay isn't pollution or climate change, it's their own kind. Researchers tracked cannibalistic behavior in blue crabs over 37 years, finding that adult crabs were responsible for roughly 97% of injuries sustained by younger crabs, with more than half of those encounters proving fatal. Lead author Anson Hines of the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center describes cannibalism as common but historically undermeasured across marine populations. The study suggests this isn't an anomaly, it's a pattern baked into the species. Turning now to the frontiers of perception research, the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies has launched what it describes as the first formal study examining unusual communication and perception, including experiences traditionally referred to as telepathy. The research is particularly interested in neurodivergent individuals, whose ways of processing information may differ significantly from conventional neurological models. Both adults and minors with parental permission are eligible to participate, as are caregivers and close observers who have witnessed such experiences firsthand. The division says it hopes the study will offer new frameworks for understanding perception that fall outside current scientific models. And finally, for those keeping score on the theoretical physics front, Einstein's equations of relativity do not strictly forbid time travel, at least on paper. Wormholes and curved spacetime remain mathematically viable pathways for moving through the fourth dimension, though no practical method has ever been demonstrated. Science fiction, of course, has never waited for the physics to catch up, offering solutions ranging from flux capacitors and modified sports cars to magical telephone boxes. Whether any of it holds up under scrutiny remains, for now, an open question. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. I wish he was just a little bit less robotic. I'll get that fixed. But as you know, many problems going on technologically with the show. If everything breaks again before next show, I'm going to throw everything in the dumpster. Just kidding. What's up, Herschel? Matt Sal, thanks for the call. Great stuff. What's up, APOC? Daryl, Satya, and Joe, thanks for the call. James, thanks for sitting in and being the glue. As always, you're the best. What's up, Puff? Over there says, who said this? Why were the court jesters multicolored? And so Merlin Magi adds, they were also called a mixed bag, only they can mock nobility and live. Yeah. That's an interesting thing. Like, not just what Matzah was saying with color magic and what we're talking about in this context, but there are right sort of ritual regalia that makes you immune to particular spaces like this. And I don't know, like it's all weird when you combine these ideas. Look, maybe I'm way off the beaten path and it doesn't make any sense, but maybe there's some nuggets here. Like I said, if you want to get coherence from my rambling, go read the write-up. It's very good, and it is very coherent. It's just sometimes it's a lot of information to synthesize into a conversation where you take calls. Anyway, the robot voice is kind of sexy. Okay, here we go. What's up, Jen, Ioxy? I see you guys. Derek, here we go. Derek the Nice Talker coming up, and more from James and your calls. Here we go. Here we go. Please work. Please work. Please work. Okay. Please work. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Come say hi. Come meet all these amazing people that make this show go. Tonight we're talking, look, not just St. Patty's Day, the color green. The fact that St. Patrick's actual color going back centuries was a light blue, links in the description if you don't believe me. And around the time of the Revolution, it's the late 1700s, they adopted the color green. But the weird part about that is, in Ireland, the folklore and mythology going back centuries suggests the color green was dangerous to wear in the wild because it was the color of the Fey folk. And when you wore it in their space, which was the rolling hills, of course, the green rolling hills, what they would do is mark you. They assumed you were trying to get their attention somehow. Man, you hear that? Like, what an awful fade. This is all hardware stuff. It's unacceptable, really. I'm really kind of pissed off. This is a very expensive board and it sucks right now. Anyway, so that's what's on my mind tonight. And look, there's a lot of ways to look at this. Like I said, if you're like, this guy's kind of a rambling mess. Yes, you are correct. You are correct, because it is a fully long narrative, and the only way to properly get through it is to just read the thing. I don't want to do that. I want to talk to you guys. But there is a full narrative here that stitches all these ideas together over on the Troubled Minds newsletter. TroubledMinds.org. Click the newsletter on top. Go read this. I call it the same. This titles are the same as the show. A color no one chose. The Green Man in the Walls, which we'll get to in just a second. But James, anything to add? And we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker. And thanks for being patient. Ellis.
Just great calls from everyone, and glad to be here. And this has been a lot of fun so far. It does make me wonder. The other thing I was thinking about too is that color change. If you think of blue, that's water, and if you think of green, that's land. And I wonder if there's some reason for that change, or for those sort of, I don't know, that association with land. It's going back to that whole nature thing, but also, water is nature too. So it's really fascinating that these colors are have these different meanings for different things for different people.
Agreed, and well said. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a sort of a sea change in the mind's eye of where they came from and where they're headed. This is our land. That makes sense. Like, not just ritually, but I think in terms of a revolution, but in the terms of we're not leaving. We're going to stay here on the green and fight for it. Right. That makes some sense. That actually makes some direct, less esoterically meaning symbolic stuff, which is good. That's exactly the point of this, is to look at all of the ideas and how they might fit. And I think you may be onto something. Maybe it's quite a bit more direct and to the point than I'm making it, but you know me. Anything else on that?
Well, and it could be that. Plus, again, like I said, I still wonder if there was this. We want this idea of, even if not spoken or even conscious necessarily, we want to be like the fairies, the fae. We want to have their abilities or be like them in how they are so mysterious and can basically do whatever they want, to people overall, and except in rare circumstances. There again, maybe it was a combination of the land and then also trying to take in power of some kind, from that meaning of take power, become more like another being that is they believe to be powerful.
Yeah, indeed. And then carving these entities all over Europe and Ireland and everywhere else of this green man, not just in churches but on castles. That's a nameless entity. You would think if it was so prominent, they would say, well, that's Saint this or Saint that, or it's Zeus or Apollo or whatever. But there's no actual name for this guy. It's weird. All this is so weird. Anyway, ramble, Mike, quiet. I'd read the number, but it's broken. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. What's up?
Oh,
the Night Stalker.
Top of the morning to you, brothers. Oh, Saint by Sarvas, Michael Strange. Troubled Marines. Oh. What's going on, Brutus?
Not too much chilling. I thought you might bring a Luck of the Irish to us tonight, being the ginger that you are. He's not just a Night Stalker, again, the official Synchro Mystic of Troubled Minds. You might be the official ginger of Troubled Minds. Welcome to the joint, bro.
I should be.
How are you? You should be. You want to swap it? Put in the official petition?
No. I like the Synchro Mystic one, but we can add the ginger to the business card, I guess.
Right on.
But yeah, I mean, wild stuff. First, yeah, I mean, this is a big day for me growing up. I kind of slept through it today a little bit. I made a corned beef dinner because my mom wants to feel festive and stuff. But back in the day, I used to make leprechaun traps and stuff. I used to wear all kinds of green, which was easy because I'm in Boston, which is like Boston Celtics country and everything. So I posted a picture in the Discord chat of me as the day stalker in circa 2013 range, and Celtics and a leprechaun beard and stuff. My last name in real life is Murphy, and I'm a ginger, so I really felt obligated to go all out and stuff. But I got a bunch of thoughts on this. First, to what you're saying, you can hear me.
Yeah, totally good. Totally good. Yeah, you're good. Okay, I was just chuckling at that. I feel obligated to go all out. I love that. Sorry, go ahead.
For the James that you're talking about with the land and some kind of merging, whatever. Maybe think of one little nugget I found, which is from the AI, so I'm not sure how reliable it is. I didn't fact check it. But it said that blue represents spirit and yellow represents matter in alchemy. So kind of this alchemical fusion, this kind of weird nether range, kind of represented the fusion between spirit and matter to make alchemical change, is represented by green. So we kind of keep that in mind. Keep this kind of fairy circle you're talking about, this kind of strangeness. And then think about how we talk about rivers all the time. Shout out rivers, and rivers being these liminal areas, these potential portal spots. And then the ritual on this day of the green rivers everywhere. In Chicago has the big one, but I looked up what other ones do it. I'm not sure about Boston. I don't think Boston does it. But there's another river an hour from Chicago, Fox River. Shout out rivers again, those foxes. That they do it. Tampa, Florida, the Hillsborough River does it. The River Walk in San Antonio, the San Antonio River does it. Indianapolis does it. Savannah, Georgia was the first one to actually do it. Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Washington, D.C. all does green rivers. So if we're talking about green as some kind of liminal color, some kind of bridge color between spirit and matter, or some kind of connection to the fairy space, the divine realms or whatever, and rivers as portals and stuff. The dying river seems like to be a pretty ritualistic thing to do, I got a ton more stuff, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're good. Perfect. That's actually part of what I was kind of brainstorming, and I was like, when I add the rivers, like it's a little bit like it's too much already. It's just too much to kind of explain and kind of encapsulate this. But the green rivers did come up, and I was like, that's fascinating, but I'm just not going to touch it. It's too much. I think it did make its way into the write-up there, but for very briefly. But I mean, yeah, you're right. And so not only all the stuff we're talking about, the color green and the color magic of Matzal as he was describing. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is something a little deeper, as James described, with the land and the sea and those liminal places, and us highlighting them. And maybe, if you got the green riverbank, and then you make the river green, and it looks right. There is no liminal space. It's suddenly the entire space. I don't know. I love that. Why not? Right.
I mean, if green kind of represents this portal color, and then rivers. I mean, I definitely think rivers are portals, and I mean we've talked about it on the show a lot, so I'm bringing it up. So kind of portal on a portal on type of ritual today. Sorry, James, are you gonna sit them? Sorry.
No.
Oh, sorry. All right, sorry. I got a couple pop culture ones first, and then I'll get back into the esoterica of it. So growing up, my first favorite color was actually green because of Tommy the Green Power Ranger, and he was introduced in the classic Power Rangers story arc, green with evil. He was like taken by the evil witch and like made evil. He was his first evil Power Ranger. So it kind of represents this kind of mystical, magical, kind of fairy changeling taken by magic and brought and changed and brought back as this kind of green entity, this green knight, which is kind of Arthurian, Irish kind of Celtic lore. And then in Marvel, they have the Hulk is he has the green. There's the Green Door mythology, which is kind of retconned like in 2018 range, which is it's really cool. And I'm just going to read the definition of it. The Green Door is a metaphysical barrier that connects the below place, the bottom layer of the multiverse, even below the deepest layer of hell in the real world. So it's again, I'm going to bring up this mauve zone because I'm just in my tongue. But it's this space, it's this bridge space, this liminal space, this kind of where dreams meet reality, where the below meets the above, where the seen meets the unseen, kind of. Where the land meets the sea, as James was talking about, or where spirit meets matter in alchemy, kind of this liminal color. And then in DC Comics, they have the green, which is in Swamp Thing lore. So like the red ties together all the animals, the blue ties together all the oceans and the water, gray ties together all the fungi, and the green represents. Read the definition. The green is one of the elemental forces in the universe, inherent and connected to all forms of plant life. It is a cosmic energy force that animates all plant life in the universe, multiverse, or perhaps even the greater omniverse. These are and the green is capitalized. So the green is experienced by elementals as the ethereal realm inhabited by the collective minds of the Parliament of the Trees. So Swamp Thing is essentially this green man in DC Comics, where he represents kind of this ambassador for the capital G, the green, which is like kind of this Indra's web that connects all plants all across the universe. And then the red connects all of animal life all across this Indra's web of animal life. And the gray is the Indra's web of all the fungus in the universe and stuff. I think that's kind of cool. And then there's different colors of kryptonite. Green is the bad one that hurts you. And then again, in alchemy, blue spirit, yellow is matter. So green represents the merger between those two to make alchemical change. Anything on that before we keep rambling?
No, I love it. No, you're great. You're on fire and spot on as usual. And a lot of those things too. Like I said, no, go ahead. Not gonna steer with that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
And then I forgot to copy this website down, but if you just search green in occultism, something like that on Google, which is one of the first ones that came up at the blog. It says the supernatural power of green. Green has long been considered or long been associated with mystery, magic, and the supernatural. In medieval Europe, green was often used to represent mythical creatures like fairy spirits and witches. It is considered an, quote, in-between color, balancing the world of the living and the supernatural. In folklore, green is often tied to nature, but also to danger as the color of poison, envy, and sickness. It evokes both life and decay, which is kind of interesting, like the green horse of like the pale horse in that represents like sickness and kind of if you say you look a little green means you look a little sick. Saying green also represents rebirth, so it kind of has this liminal color that represents both things, which connects to all other stuff. And it's perfect for a holiday centered on death, afterlife, and this is about green being associated with Halloween in this case. But I just used it for the little fun facts. And there's another article about the Wicked Witch of the West being associated with green. And it's kind of the same thing that the green in folklore mythology, the green was associated with the untamed elements of nature. the wild and unpredictable aspect of nature, and linked to the idea of witches and their strong magical prowess, forever connecting them to the color green, which is kind of where the Wicked Witch of the West and the green witch kind of came from there. So it's untamed nature, and it's also represents a bridge color, a portal color, a liminal color that are between the spirit world and the real world, or the dead and the living, and the death and rebirth. And I think that's kind of interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I dig it. James, anything on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I was wondering, I was thinking about that too, how green, like I said, I couldn't think of any examples, but those are a lot of good ones of green. First of all, I didn't realize it was supposed to be a sort of a combination of the spiritual and the physical. That's really fascinating. And then the life and death thing, I mean, think of, again, how often so many beings are said to be green. There's aliens, some aliens are said to be green colored. There's green apparitions.
Goblins,
seen sometimes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all different kinds of beings like that. So, really, really fascinating there. So I'm glad you found all that, because I think I kind of knew it, but it was just not coming to me directly. So, thank you for that.
Oh yeah. Anything, Mike? Before I keep rambling?
No, go ahead. Fire stuff. I got similar comments to what James said. Like it's fantastic to have you on when your brain's focused in on an idea like this, because the stuff you bring, no, it's perfect. It's literally fits perfectly, and it's things that don't cross my mind at all. Like all of this complements each other so much. So thank you for bringing the Night Stalker angle. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. And the people who always be like, why are you bringing up Marvel and DC stuff? But to me, it's just interesting how these like themes can kind of represent themselves. If like we get ideas and creativity and the arts from the muses, like how kind of these ideas are represented throughout pop culture and stuff. So I'm not sure if necessarily all these creators are thinking about these things in particular, but it's interesting that this color has represented kind of this liminal color across all pop culture, both new and old. It's interesting. And then who's the Green Man? So like obviously green is fertility and stuff. In Celtic lore is the Green Knight, which I'm not that well versed in. There was a movie a few years ago about the Green Knight, but I think it's kind of this Arthurian piece of this Arthurian legend. And he kind of is this mystery figure that represents nature and represents fertility, and he battles people. Is kind of the crux of what I got out of it, which could be kind of what in Europe, kind of what they're evoking when they put him in. And they're real big in the Arthurian legends over there and stuff. So that could be that. In Egypt, it represents fertility again with Osiris. And then there's a Green Man, represents springtime, nature, and renewal. And it says here that sometimes associated with Pan, but usually associated with Cernunnos, which is kind of the one I was going to bring up. And this is just off the top of my head, but Cernunnos is part of this alchemical wedding that's done with like nature, magic, and stuff a lot in the springtime. And it's where like somebody's given the title of the Green Man, somebody's given the title of the Green Woman, and they have this like faux wedding stuff to merge. It's like an alchemical wedding to merge kind of the X and the O, the masculine and the feminine stuff, as during this time of spring renewal. It's like when the wedding happens. And in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, that's like Pan, and like so the trajectory of that show is kind of it's like a coven of witches who are like under Lucifer, and they kind of get their magic from Lucifer, and then they kind of rebel against him, or like Lilith takes over and like kind of it's all trying to take over kind of custody of like the world basically, or like the hell realms and stuff and whatever. But it's first season's Lucifer, second season is Lilith versus Lucifer, and like they're getting their magic elsewhere and stuff. Third season it was Pan and the old gods, and last season was Lovecraftian eldritch terrors in the void and stuff. But when it was Pan and the old gods, there were like these kind of nature entities and stuff. These people worshiping these nature entities, and it was this older magic that came and got really messed up the coven. It was like older than Lucifer's magic, so it was kind of giving them some trouble. And they were burning an effigy of the Green Man in order to bring back the old gods, these old nature spirits and these old nature gods and stuff that have been kind of cast out, like we talk about all the time. The old gods are pushed out and they want back in. And the way they were doing it in this is to burn the effigy of the Green Man. Kind of opens this door, this green door in Marvel, this liminal color that lets these things in, lets these fairies in, the elementals in, or whatever, this untamed power of nature that can be unlocked during this alchemical wedding in Cernunnos. And then I don't know if this is how real this is, but it comes up like in like the synchro spaces as like potentially where CERN comes from, Cernunnos, and it's one of these potential horned, quote unquote, horned and hidden gods. like a Baal or like a Moloch and stuff. I don't think Cernunnos is usually a good entity associated with like the green, but sometimes gets lumped in with the horn gods and Saturn and Kronos and Baal and Moloch and stuff. So if they're worshiping secretly the green man all across the world, potentially they're worshiping Saturn all across the world and Baal. What do you think? That's basically all my notes.
No, good stuff. And the green aspect of that, and Cernunnos in particular looks like Pan, looks like a satyr, like a traditional Greek satyr, Greek or Roman satyr. And so it is weird, that sort of mix, because you could actually describe directly and specifically that Satan is sort of a maybe reptilian satyr, right? In sort of the Dante's Inferno way of looking at these entities. So I don't know. It's weird, and those things do get mixed up because there are a lot of ideas that are older than Christianity that we talk about a lot. And again, not to be blasphemous or ridiculous or any of that stuff, but go look, you'll find it. It's there. And I think it was Matzel that posted that meme where it had Satan and what was it, like a Cernunnos and maybe Pan sitting at a table, and they're like, they get us all confused. They're all like laughing and stuff or whatever. But I mean, certainly they mean different things, but they do look very similar in terms of, you know, the hooves and the horns and the chaotic nature aspect of worship. And so, I mean, I don't know. Like I think Cernunnos and CERN, we maybe did a show kind of that touched on that stuff. But also I want to point out, this is incredible. Like, we have done this show. We're coming up on, no, I'm not kidding you, 8 years of wild ideas and just amazing things. And the idea of Cernunnos and the Green Man has barely touched any of this. And the Green Man in particular is something that I don't hear anybody else talk about. So, I mean, like, think about it. As much as you can dig and dig and dig, there's always more stuff to find. And that's the beauty of these conversations, is because when you look at it, like, we could probably circle back and do an entire deep dive on just the Green Man and the weirdness of the effigies and all, not the effigies, but the carvings in the churches and the castles that nobody has a name for. We don't know what to call this thing. And so it gets the term Green Man, which is a modern naming convention. I mean, we don't know. It's like, well, what is this? And the Christians left it like almost as if it is that, dare I suggest, the primordial nature spirit of where all things reside or came from. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, and to evoke the regalia that Matt was talking about, I'm Catholic, and the Catholic priests will wear green. I'm not sure. I think it's on Christmas they wear green. It's obviously an important Christian day. I think during Lent they wear a lot of green, and they might wear purple on Easter itself. But a lot of green. They wear green robes that are specific for their high holy days, which seems important. And there's a lot of mysticism, obviously, within Catholicism and stuff. And just the vibe I get from the Green Man, especially with the Sabrina, the Chilling Invention Sabrina aspect of it, is kind of this, like, kind of the Green Knight. It's kind of this hidden figure. And if you take in the alchemical aspect of it, it's kind of this, where green represents this kind of bridge thing between the real world and the netherworld, the spirit and matter, the dead and undead, the seen and the unseen. It's kind of this figure, this, like, I don't know, this non-human, non-physical, this figure. It's like the Beyonder in Marvel, some kind of figurehead, or like Sandman or whatever. Some kind of like figure that represents the other side, and to burn effigies of him during this rebirth time is kind of to, I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not even sure. But look, if CERN is based on Cernunnos at all, that whole idea of that is like the alchemy of opening portals to the other side to bring something forward and stuff. So if that's the idea during this springtime resurrection season, this alchemical wedding, the X and the O, which again that's part of the Crowley TO stuff. The X and the O is the sigil that they use to open portals to bring this thing in. And if green is this portal color, and then the river portal being dyed green, and the green door in Marvel as this bridge door that represents the other realms. Like, I don't know. That seems to be what's being evoked. This liminal color, this liminal perk figure, faceless kind of green figure, that's like burned down to bring in like effigies, like a Wicker Man styles burned down to bring in other entities. I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting. Liminal color. No, wait, don't go anywhere. Stay right there.
Yeah, please. So I got a question for you. So regarding the pinching thing, was that a thing where you were from? Like, does that resonate? Do you recognize what I'm talking about?
It sounds familiar. I remember I've never experienced that. I mean, the big thing, especially like post teenage years, it was always a trying to sneak some kisses, like kiss me, I'm Irish type of thing. Like being in Boston, like we made a big deal out of it. There's a lot of, especially in the 90s, like a lot of Irish kids in my class. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case as much anymore, but it was a big deal. So it was a lot of kiss me, I'm Irish. And then I remember if you wore orange, it was supposed to be really disrespectful to the Irish. And so if you accidentally wear orange on that day, or like one year I did it because, it's like is this orange on the Irish flag? It can't be bad, but apparently it's a sign of disrespect. It's like something that like rivals of the Irish will do in order to antagonize the Irish on this day. So I don't know.
There's so much.
I got, really.
There's so much I don't know about this world. There's so much.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's wild. Okay, so just to reiterate, so you being the official Ginger of Troubled Minds, we won't change your name to that, by the way. That goes on the business card. But and Irish to boot.
Yeah.
The ritual of not wearing green and getting pinched in like grade school wasn't a thing for you.
As an Irish Catholic named Murphy who has red hair in Boston, I never heard of it. I never heard of it. I'm technically only half Irish. Like both of my grandparents are Irish, but my grandmothers are not Irish. So I'm only 50%. But I carry all the traits of it and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I bleed green, as a Celtic fan might say. But like I used to make like all kind of leprechaun traps. There's all kind of lores, like all the kind of like things you learn from the Disney movies that like kind of they say their names, or they'll like chase after coins, or that kind of weird stuff. These little like child lore. So I was more into that then. I'm kind of forgetting them now. But there was kind of superstitions around leprechauns in the 90s when I was a kid, at least. But that escapes me at the moment. But that's all I really got.
Yeah, that's all. Just blowing brains up for you. You're the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for peeling out time for us, and have a great night. You know him, you love him. Derek the Night Stalker. Again, he calls us. He takes his lunch and calls us stalking overnight. It is Night Stalker. Night, STOCKER. Please give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Go check out his YouTube channel. It's completely free. And just click it. Click on the friends thing, scroll down. It's under N, Night Stalker. Click that and go check out his YouTube. And he's got a trailer video on there. You can see him actually stalking and talking about the ideas that keep him up at night, other than the night stalking. And it's an incredible space. Let's go follow him and give him more reasons to make new content and new videos. Fire stuff. Appreciate you very much. James, anything to add to that? Tons of great stuff out of tonight. Like I said, from night to night, sometimes slow nights, fast nights, whatever. Like I was kind of barely interested in St. Patty's Day, to be honest, until I put on my green shirt earlier. And I was like, why green? And then here we go. Here we are.
Yeah, great call from Derek. Always glad to hear from him. It just, that's amazing to me how important colors are. And I always like to joke that like I must be very lucky because I've never been anywhere and had anyone like come at me for the colors of clothes I was wearing, because most time I have no idea what the colors of my clothes are. I'm legally blind. I don't pay attention really. Like I like dark clothes. So it's just amazing that, and I mean, and I'm not picking on that, the aspect of that at all. When I say they're important, colors are important to people, I do mean that, and I understand that. And it's amazing how how that works and the energy that goes into all that. Again, it's not just colors, it's energy, it's thought that goes into all these things. And again, even if the color doesn't mean anything physically or directly, there's still all that thought that once it gets started, it goes into it and all that energy. And so that's what's fascinating to me about all this is, I can't really easily identify with the idea of sort of colors and thinking about colors a lot and all those things, but I can in terms of just thought and belief and symbolism and all those things are really fascinating to me. So thank you for letting me sit in tonight, and glad to be here as always.
Glad to have you. The glue of the show. James Salcedo, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, a dear friend, as you know. And if you're not following him, like I said, at this point, you're hurting my feelings. If you're not following the people on the friends list, troubledminds.org/friends, you're hurting my feelings. Look, like 95% plus of the things that are on that list are free. Please, if you don't have an account in the different places they're sharing things, go make an account. Go follow them. Go bookmark their page. Go back to the Troubled Minds friends list and go check out what they got, and just go listen to some of the amazing ideas that come out of this. Because like I said, it's not just me. Like I'm amazing. I'll tell you that. My ego is just fine. But also, all of the rest of the people that we talk to in the creation process of this are amazing. That's the point. That's really the point. Like I've always said, if this was a troubled mind, I could just read a script for 20 minutes and then end it. And that's that. That's what a lot of podcasts are. But it's no fun. Isn't it more fun to have a little bit of chaos introduced, some tech issues, and who knows what the next caller up is going to say? I think it's way more fun. And here we are. So thanks again for being part of it. Good night, Fred. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for staying up late. We'll see you on Thursday night. And yeah, I don't know. Again, answers few, questions many. That's just the way I see the world, to be honest. And in my, long of tooth days with my gray hair and, now I'm the old guy, I've recognized, talking to you guys, that truth is not just a slippery fish. Truth is something far more sacred and older than we can fathom. And that's why these conversations range as far and wide as they do. I'm not sure you can synthesize a singular truth anymore. I think there are too many people, smart, great people, with fascinating, interesting, pertinent perspectives that it's worthy of talking about and worthy of considering. That's it. It's the sort of the, was it the Socrates way? Was it Socrates, I think? The only thing I can tell you is that I don't know anything. Was that Aristotle? I don't know. I get them confused. Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, morons. No, just kidding. If you guys have seen The Princess Bride, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I don't really mean that. But you get the idea. Like, that's the point. I don't have to sell it to you if you're still here at the end of the show, but that's why we do it the way we do it. If you like Troubled Minds, help our friends. I say this several times throughout the show because it's very important to me that we grow together, that we recognize there are talented people doing many different talented things in different ways. And that's perfectly acceptable, right? This is not a draconian world yet. So while we have it, while we can do it, I think it's important to talk. It's important to consider. It's important to even push the envelope on what might be the possibility of truth. Welcome to what we do. Welcome to the narratives I build are based in the way they are. We're reaching sometimes. But you have to admit, over the years, there's a lot of truth that has been said in this space. You define it. I won't. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work just doing it. Going back and defining it is even more work. I'm not interested. That's that. Way too much work. Maybe at some point we'll have an AI go back and synthesize it all. Wouldn't that be super cool? To actually every word that was ever said on this podcast to catalog in a searchable index and then synthesize, I don't know, like a heartbeat of what we've done. I don't know, collectively. I don't know. Anyway, just some ideas, but that's that. That's where my mind is at. Look, like I said before, I'm excited for the future. Who knows what tomorrow brings, but also don't take it for granted. Okay. Look, I'm old enough, I'm young enough to be excited for the future, but I'm old enough to recognize that tomorrow is not guaranteed. It never is. So make sure that you hug your loved ones because they may not be here tomorrow, or you may not be here tomorrow to hug them. Make sure you recognize and respect the people that deserve it, the people that respect you. And that's that. Keep thinking, keep dreaming big, and keep wondering what we've missed, not over the course in the mass media now, but the ancient ways going back thousands of years. What have we missed? Because me asking that very simple question is multifaceted in the answer and probably endless. You see? This is not a frivolous conversation. This is about what being human is. That's that. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Oh, if you want to help Troubled Minds, spread the word. Let everybody know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you to vote for. Anyway, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you on Tuesday night, God willing. Take care.